Hello, this is Wicked Shrapnel, and this video is called Death Fucking Sucks. And I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys, share some stories with you, and I'll just go over my history with death, because I don't have very many instances of deaths of loved ones, and I don't handle death very well, and I guess nobody really handles death well. If you do handle death well, then you're probably a sociopath, and you should be behind bars or on a battlefield or something. There's useful sociopaths. But I don't have too many experiences with it, and the times that I have, I haven't dealt with it too well. I guess I deal with it as good as the next person, but it's hard. And so let me think of the first instance of, it wasn't really, I didn't know of the death, but my first death that I was related to was my mom had bought me a duck for, I guess it was like on Easter, and they sell like little chiclets, and I had this duck, and I called him Hootie, and I called him Hootie after Houdini, because I would like hide him under blankets, and he would always get out. And I guess one night while I was sleeping, I actually slept with the duck. He was like my little buddy, and I rolled over on him and killed the duck. And my mom came in the morning, and I was still sleeping, and saw that I had killed the duck. She's like, "Oh my God!" She didn't want to tell me, didn't want me to know, and she went and bought another duck that looked just like it, and like put it in bed with me. And I woke up, and I noticed that the duck had a different personality, and it couldn't get out of stuff. I'd like hide it, and I'm like, "Something's wrong with Hootie, Mom." And I think all animals, I mean, if they're smart enough to have a pretty well functioning brain, they all have different personalities. It's really what makes you who you are, and all living things have personalities, and some have good personalities, and some have bad, and some don't have much of a personality at all. And another story of death, and this is kind of why I disabled comments and disabled ratings and everything on Sheldon's tribute video, because I really just wanted it to be like a memorial to him, and I didn't want anything to spoil it, like people commenting stupid stuff. And there was comments that I removed. It's like, "Oh, it's just a cat, get over it, I'll give you one for free." And I guess they just don't understand, and or some of them might have been young to even experienced death like that. And one of the stories from when I was young, my mom said, she told me, like, my aunt died, like her aunt died, and I was like, "So I didn't know her." And it's just like, "Oh my God, that's such a cold thing to say." But I was too young to really understand what it actually meant, and never had anything that I loved die to be able to really experience the loss that comes with that. And I didn't experience that until, I guess, the first time that I really cried. Here, John's. Say hello, John. John. John doesn't have much of a personality. He's just like, "Meh, whatever, see you later." Oh, I'll talk more about that in a little bit. And I was gonna put like a game and stuff behind this and do a commentary, but I couldn't really think of any game that would be good to talk about death. So I just decided to do like a vlog type video, and people had commented, like, "You doing this in a laundry room?" Like, no, this is my bedroom. I'm just a slob. Oh, I have a little liquid courage. But the first time that I like cried over death was when my aunt's husband, who was like, his name was Pete, but it wasn't like the father of my cousins. She had divorced and remarried, but he was around and came to like dinners and Sundays at Grandma's house, and everyone knew him. Pete was a cool dude, and Pete died of a heart attack, and that was the first funeral that I went to, and I just remember crying my eyes out. I could barely take it, just seeing him in the casket, and I'd never seen anyone dead before, and just seeing my aunt, how she was crying and how much it affected her and all the loss that she was feeling. And it was the first time that I really, was heartbroken over death. And the next time after that was when my girlfriend died, and she died like after we had already been done dating for a year or two. And she went off to college at Ohio State University, and I moved to Omaha, Nebraska. And I was like planning on coming back to Ohio, and I had contacted her like a few months before she died, and she died like just a week or two before I was going to see her again. I hadn't seen her in years, and she died in a car accident, and that was really hard. And just going to her funeral, seeing her parents. John's gonna go lay down. That's what he does best. But I was just, bawling my eyes out, crying. I felt tremendous loss because, I'd been so close to her, and she was such a cool person. And she was only like 20 years old when she died. She was so young, and a whole life ahead of her, and just life cut short. And after that was my grandma died, but that was kind of like we knew she was going to die. She had breast cancer and had a double mastectomy, and cancer spread into other areas, and she was suffering. She was on all these like pills and stuff, and she was, her she was to the point where she had even said like she wanted to die. And so when she died, it was almost like, it was sad that she died, but it was almost like a relief that she didn't have to suffer anymore. And so that was sad, but it was a lot harder or a lot easier for me to accept her death because I knew it was coming for a long time. She was lived sick for years. And that was really like the last death in my family of any people. And I'll tell you a quick story about how I have cats, because it's kind of a good backstory, because I was never a cat person until I guess it was probably 2007 is when I bought my first cat. And I had a cat when I was like really little, like one or two, and my first words actually ever spoken wasn't mommy or daddy, it was damn cat. That was like the first words that I said. It's written down in my baby book, because I guess that's what my dad said about the cat. He was probably always saying that. It's like damn cat, oh look at this damn cat, and my dad didn't like the cat, and that was like my first words, damn cat. And so I don't even remember that cat. I was too young, and never really had cats when I was growing up, and my mom never, had cats after that cat that I don't even remember. I had a dog let me tell you, my dog Duchess that died when I was in sixth grade. I forgot to tell that story. I was really, or didn't die. I guess died to me because my mom sold the dog, and it was as good as dead because it went away and it never came back. And I was really heartbroken over that dog. And I never loved another dog since like sixth grade. And I never thought I could love a cat either. I can't believe that I was like crying over a cat. Um, but anyway, back to my first cat. The first cat I got was like a serval cat, which I think that's what they're called. There might be some. It's a mix of a serval cat. It's this wild fucking cat. That's a big cat, and I just remember seeing like some video on it, and they like crossbreed domestic cats with these other cats. There's like F5, F4, different like degrees of how far they are from wild. And there was one like on Craigslist, and I went and bought this cat, and it was a huge cat. Like John is a pretty big cat, and he was probably like I don't know. I think it weighed like 16 pounds, and he weighs like 12. So it was bigger than John, and John's a pretty big cat as far as cats go. Sheldon was a small cat. He only weighed like 6 or 7 pounds. But I got this big cat, and I only had him for like 6 or 7 months, and that's when I was moving to Austin, and I had to move into an apartment. I didn't really want to deal with relocating, and it was really a wild cat, and it'd been pissing on things, like marking its territory, pissed on the wall, and it was just too wild of a cat. I thought it was cool to look at, but it was just a cat. Cool cat, wild cat, whatever. It's just a cat. And my friend's like, I'll buy him. And then I didn't have to deal with moving him. I wasn't attached to him really at all. I was like, all right, here, buy my cat. And it was a pretty expensive cat. It was like a few $100. And then I moved down to here in Austin, and my neighbor, who I became friends with and eventually ended up dating, had two cats, and you're only allowed to have two cats in the apartment. And then she found a cat at an apartment complex, and it was a cool looking cat. It was kind of like colors of John, a little lighter John, that kind of style of cat breed, whatever. And she's like, well, the apartment complex has found out she had three cats, and they're like, you have to get rid of a cat. And I was moving into the house that I'm in now here, and I'm like, all right, I'll take the cat. He's a cool cat, but I don't know. I had him for a while, and he was a stupid cat. His name was Steve, and she named Steve after her dad that passed away. And I ended up giving him a last name, Colbert. So my first cat in Austin was Stephen Colbert. And he was just a dumb cat. And I don't know, he was really picky. Like, there would be a little hair in his water, and he wouldn't drink out of his water because there was like this little hair in it. And then he'd walk around just meowing all the time. And so I just felt like he was lonely and he needed a companion. So I went to the Humane Society and got John. And I got John, he was only like a few months old when I got him. So I had him since he was like a really little cat. And it's a lot easier to have two cats because two cats keep them company. So I didn't really want any cat to begin with. Then I got a cat, and then I had to get another cat to keep that cat company. And John got out one day. I wasn't really letting them go. Oh, I guess I did put like the cat door in, but they'd just go out and come back in. I had it all sealed off in the back to where they weren't getting out. But then like John started jumping the fence, and Steve was too stupid to jump the fence. Like, he would go in the backyard and he would just like lay down in the grass, and John would go jump over the fence and go off somewhere for a while, and then come back, and Steve would still just be in the yard. But I guess Steve found a way to get out one day, and he didn't come back. And he's gone. John had left sometimes and be gone for like a whole day, and then he'd come back. And Steve, he just didn't come back. So I put up signs around the neighborhood like, where's my stupid cat? Have you seen this stupid cat? I didn't say that. Like, missing cat, and had a picture of Steve on it. And my neighbor came and knocked on my door and was like, I think I saw your cat. He's like, I'm sorry. He was laying under the car in front of your house, and I called. They called like the city to come pick him up, and so I never had to see him. But he died, so it was sad. I did I did shed some tears, but it wasn't real. I wasn't really like heartbroken because I wasn't really bonded to him. Steve was just a cat, and John is just a cat. And then John started to get needy and meowing, and he probably will again eventually, someday soon, when he realizes that Sheldon is gone. But so I went to, I think it was Petco, and Petco had a thing set up where like Humane Society and animal rescues put animals in there to buy, and this is maybe a month or so, a month or two after Steve had died. Oh, and John was already named John when I got him, and then I made his last name John Stewart. So it was John Stewart and Stephen Colbert, and I never gave any of my cats their first names. I just always give them the last name. And so John was sad, needed a companion, and I went to Petco and saw Sheldon, and he was just a little tiny thing. He was just a small little cat, and they put you in this little, they take you like in the little room where you could, meet the cat. And I don't know, there was something special about Sheldon, and his name was already Sheldon too. But I guess one of the first things that I noticed was his paws. Like his paws were really different. Like if I take a John and like put your finger up to his paw, like he doesn't do anything. The cat just kind of holds the paw up there. But I had my fingers up, and when I was holding Sheldon in this little meeting room, and he like took my paw, or he took. I put my finger up, and he like clenched down on my paw, like he could bend his fingers, like he had extra joints that cats don't normally have, so he could like make a fist, and he like just grabbed onto my finger, and I just thought it was like the cutest thing. It's just like when a little baby grabs onto your finger. And I just thought that, I don't know, it was just different. And I was holding him, and he'd like take his face and like rub his face on you. And so I'm like, all right, I'll take this cat. And I brought him home, and it was like a few days later, and he was getting this thing with his eye, like he would hold his eye shut, and he would get like crusties on it, and I'd pull his eyelid down, and it was like red in there, and I'm like, oh, what the hell? I was talking to my mom, I'm like, my cat, it's like got something wrong with his eye. And so I called the rescue place that I got him from, and I'm like, this cat that I got, he's got a sick eye. And they're like, all right, we'll bring him in. And they took him in for like a few weeks, and they said his eye's all better. You want to take him back? And I was like, yeah, I'll take him back. And if it was any other cat, if it was just a cat, I would have been like, no, I'm gonna find some other cat that doesn't have a sick eye, or doesn't have problems. I didn't want to have to deal with like medical issues down the road and have to pay like $1,000 for some cat eye surgery or something, you know. But like just the week that I was with him when I first brought him home, you could just tell that he was different, and he like displayed so much affection. I'd just be laying in bed, and he'd come up and he'd just lay his little head down right next to me on my pillow, and just take his little hand paws, like you like massage your chest and like touch my nose, and just put his face like right up to my face. And sometimes it just drive me nuts, you know. I'm just trying. I'd be sleeping, and he would come up and do that, and be like, you know, wanting to cuddle, and it's like so many times I just like pushed him away. But I really wish that I could have him do that again. And I don't know. I don't have very many emotional attachments in my life. I had, you know, heartbreaks with girls. Like, I kind of walled myself off. If, in the one that got away story in the Forever Alone series about Veronica, that was like this big heartbreak, and that felt like a death to me because I was like so in love with her, and she basically, you know, ended it and told me to go away, and it felt like, you know, the relationship itself died, and I felt the kind of loss that you feel like from a death of someone that you love. And I would say since her, I've been in relationships, but I've always kept up this emotional wall to like protect myself from that kind of pain. Because it really fucking sucks, man. And um I guess it started really young, like when my dad left when I was like 8, and that was like emotional trauma for me. And girls that I had, you know, hard breakups with that I was in love with, and every time something like that happens, it's like you build up a wall. Just to try to protect yourself from just from emotional pain. And I can remember, you know, being young, my teens, and just being so open to love and relationships and letting people in. And every time your heart gets broken, it's like whoever breaks your heart takes a little piece of your heart with you. And you just try to protect what you have left and be very careful about who you let in. And I never thought that it would be a little furry 6-pound cat. Oh shit. But I ended up like loving that cat. and and it's because that I knew that like he loved me, and I looked over all of his bad qualities, and he had a lot of bad qualities. When I first brought him home, he like I had this $150 set of headphones, and he chewed through the cord on it, which pretty much ruined them. And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fucking kill this cat. And like he chewed through the power cables on like my wireless mouse charger. I ended up having to like splice together and tape it up, and chewed through a bunch of like iPod connectors, and I ended up having to get the spray stuff, like spray bitter taste stuff to spray on things so that if you put it in his mouth, it would taste bad and he'd spit it out. And I put like aluminum foil on my wires so he wouldn't bite them. And um, and I had kept him inside. I planned on after Steve had died from getting out, I locked the doors and kept the cats inside. And I'll have one litter box, and if John would go in the litter box and leave a turd in there, Sheldon wouldn't go in there, and he would piss on the carpet like right outside of it. And one time he took a crap. I had thrown, it's like the laundry rooms where the litter box is, and uh, I had thrown like some clothes down in the hallway, like on the carpet there. And one time he took a crap and then covered it up with my shirt. And I go to pick up my shirt, and there's a bunch of crap and a big pee stain in the carpet. And I know it was him because John would go in there, go in the litter box. It doesn't matter what, because John's just a cat. But Sheldon, special personality. He's like, I'm not going in the litter box with no turd. Piss on your rug. And I ended up having to replace like the carpet with a hardwood floor over there because of him. He was, so that's why I started letting him go outside. And originally I'd put like I gated in the whole backyard and got like a couple 50-pound sandbags in far back corner of the house, like back where I licked the tree. I dumped sand there and made like a litter box in my backyard. So then they were going out there and then going in the litter box outside, which it all worked out great. And then John started jumping the fence, and Sheldon would jump the fence, and then they ended up like digging up underneath the fence. No matter what I was doing, they were getting out. But it got to the point where they were going out, but I never had any problems for years. They would go out, they'd come back in. John barely goes out at all. He just goes out to go to the bathroom, comes in, lays right in that spot that he's in right now. But Sheldon would go out hunting, and he brought in a lot of things. And he brought in a bird, and sometimes I would just find feathers. Feathers, no signs of a bird. He just ate the whole bird. There'd be like seeds that were in the bird's belly. Bird's gone. One time he brought a bird in. It was alive. I had to open up the door and let him out. And around this time of the year, there's a lot of rabbits. Rabbits are out there breeding like rabbits. And he loved to catch rabbits. And just in one of my free-for-all MW3 Lone Wolf Operation free-for-alls, Sheldon walked in with this big full-size rabbit in his mouth. And I'd like chase him out. So he's always catching rabbits and snakes and bringing all this stuff in the house, and just drove me fucking nuts. But that's what he liked to do. John doesn't do it. And another thing about Sheldon, he would always be sitting out in front of my house. And I guess I still told this in the memorial, but I don't know if he just sat out there all day just waiting for me. And as soon as I'd come in, he'd run through the back door and greet me and meow. And I just really miss that dude. and it's going to be a while before I can really totally get over them. And I took his collar off of him because they used to get out of the yard, so I got an engraved little tag that had his name on it, my name on it, with my address and phone number. So if he ever got away, someone would be able to bring him back. Look how little his neck was. So, this will be like the last video that's really dedicated to death and dying that I'm going to do for a while. I have some like a review that I have to do pretty soon. It's going to be really hard to sit at that table in there, make a video without him jumping in to get on the camera. And I really appreciated everyone's comments and their stories and your condolences, because he really meant a lot to me, and I just want to thank you guys for the support. And if you want to share any stories in the comment of this video, just about any animals that you've had that are special to you and what makes them special to you, and any death that you've experienced, and basically, death fucking sucks. So, I'll end this now, because this is a super fucking long video. And if anyone actually watched all of it, that's cool. So, thanks for watching, and I'm gonna go for now. But, thanks for listening. Thanks for being there. Even if it's just virtually, for support. So, talk to you later, guys. Take it easy.